People always want to know, is there on stage, off stage, Brian Warner, Marilyn Manson? I think the best way to look at it for me is I write and create art and make statements a lot of times for people that I know, and I spend most of my life on stage or in front of a camera saying them to strangers. I've decided to, rather than separate myself from the world and decide I'm gonna live in a fantasy world, I already do. If anyone at this point is questioning whether I'm crazy or not, if it's an act or not, it's an act of God, or it's a felony, or whatever it is. It is what it is. This is the gig, being me, but it's just Marilyn Manson, and that's just the easy word for it. If you want the long version of it, then you're gonna have to have anal sex with me. I think people that are already fans of things that I've done can expect what I have now come to realize. I can do things on my own, and Twiggy has done things on his own, but together, no one can do what we do together, and everything happens for a reason, and I believe that more now than ever. Whatever he did when we were apart, he became more capable of expressing through an instrument his emotions, and I think that I became more aware of loss. Eat Me, Drink Me is a record that's hard for me to listen to now, not because it makes me sad. It just reminds me of an era where I was a broken person trying to repair myself, and I was maybe attaching myself to a Shakespearean concept of, if the world can accept me, then I'm in love, and let's die together. And now I look back at that as cowardice. And the album begins with the song Devour, and that song was very hard to get to. Making the record was very easy once it was flowing. Making the music, we didn't even unpack our clothes when we started writing the music. We wanted it raw. Everything was initial instinct, first takes, no second guessing. If it happened, why question it? Why rethink it? And the attitude of, what are they going to do, return it? What are you going to do, punish me? Is there something worse than where I'm at now that could happen? Is there a prison that is worse than the one I'm in, that I put myself in? This is the record we always wanted to make. Devour is a song that I questioned putting it first because it's so raw. It's me telling the story about essentially what would have happened about 3 days before I sang it, which is a murder-suicide, which is the coming off of Eat Me, Drink Me. I can't make this world work. I can't make love work. So you say you want to die with me? Okay, let's go. But I'll kill you first because I don't trust you. And that's as much as I'll go into the story, but that's not metaphorical, that's honest. As far as I know, no one's written a song called Pretty as a Swastika. And the record company wanted me to take it off the record because they thought, oh Lord, people are gonna... I don't see a picket sign of people outside saying, no more Manson, swastika, pretty. To me, it's one of the more romantic, interesting things I've said. Is it a compliment? What is it? Is it political? I don't know. It's not even the symbol. So when they said that, I tolerated them, and then they inspired me to really get to the heart of the matter. I make something, and when I'm done making it, fortunately, the way the world does work now, I can just give that to the world. What comes in a plastic box and is in a store, I don't give a shit what that is. They can change that, they can do whatever they want. If they're allergic to money and they don't want to, whatever. So, no swastika, I said, okay, pretty as a dollar sign. Because that's their fascism now. I mean, there's nothing more fascist now than money. Everyone knows that, everyone gets it. They essentially wanted to create a new curse word. I wasn't using a symbol, then they tried to say, well, for sure, Germany won't tolerate it. Well, no disrespect, and I love to say no disrespect, because you could say no disrespect, but you're a cocksucker. It's like it's a free, no disrespect, but go fuck yourself. No disrespect, but in Germany, swastika is an American word. It's a totally different word there. So go fuck yourself and all that. But I was inspired to make the dollar sign because my choices are made artistically. Their choices are made financially. So they actually allowed me to make a greater statement. Because initially the statement was made personally. I woke up one morning next to a girl that had black hair, red lipstick, and pale skin, and I said, "You're as pretty as a swastika." And then that seemed charming enough for her to perform, you know, I wouldn't say unspeakable acts, we know what they are. We don't even have to say them. So if that works, why can't it work for the rest of the world? Who's the Nazi? You know, it's trying to censor me. Whatever the case, you know, I'm not trying to be shocking. I'm trying to be Marilyn Manson. And until somebody else does what I do, I'll stand down. I don't really care. You know, these new bands, you want to do what I've done. Look, I'm doing what other people have done. I'm inspired by Bowie, Prince, Madonna, Alice Cooper. But I have no problem saying that. And I just try and take that and make it my own. You know, Salvador Dali said something along the lines of, anyone who doesn't steal and make it their own isn't an artist. And nothing new exists under the sun. There's only new ways to destroy what already exists. And as an artist, you create things. And sometimes in creation, you destroy things. And it's just being conscious of that. And I almost gave up music because I was so annoyed and frustrated by the fact that I couldn't handle being objectified as a piece of product that exists in a store, and not in the way like, woe is me, just in the way that I'm sick of breaking my heart that I have to censor myself for this CD that goes into a store that sells firearms but has a problem with, you know, me saying fuck. And which I rarely say, but on this record I want fuck low. I just fuck it all. Armagoddamn motherfucking Geddon. I really was trying my hardest to make a song that they would be mad because they heard the music and they were like, oh, Manson, this is gonna be a hit, without the words on it. I'm like, well, I'm glad that you have no consideration for what I put on top of it. So I'm gonna go ahead and give you a big bag of cocks for this one. And then they decided to put it, so I had some respect for them trying that. And the song, you know, which ends with fuck the goddamn TV and the radio, I'm taking credit for the death toll. And then there's a song on the record, Blank and White, which there is no clean version of the song. In the store, what you buy or wherever you get it, Blank and White, in the middle of the song I say, give me a picket sign, God is dead but God is still white. So shoot up the mall, the school, or the president of whatever, or whoever wants to fight. And they initially came to me and they said, we're gonna have to drop out the word white, that God is white, and the word president. They said, I'm not gonna change God is white. Like, I don't believe in God, but every picture I've seen of God, he's white. I don't know, if you show me evidence that he's not, but why is that offensive? You're creating something racist by changing it. You're inventing a problem by censoring it. And I get the shoot the president is something that you cannot say. It's illegal. However, I didn't say that. And in fact, I said, shoot up the mall, the school, or the president of whatever. So they wanted to drop it out, and I said, well, I want the whole phrase dropped out. So it's shoot up the mall, the school, or the beep. And early in the song I say, all you fuckers vote beep, beep, beep. So artistically it made me happy that, you know, I could mock the fact that the song is about censorship and about the day that the New York Times said God is dead, and that the suffragettes protested, and there was a protest of freedom of speech, and people held up blank white picket signs. That's what the song is about. And then they censored that. But the big zinger is that they didn't give a shit about that I said shoot up the mall and the school. And then 2 or 3 days ago, some 8th grader adds more to my greatest hits of school shootings that I get blamed for. So, who's the smart guy now? I don't know. You know, I don't advocate it. I get blamed for it. If I get blamed for it, I should at least get like some sort of medallion or a Grammy or something. I don't know. I just get death threats and blame and sex. We're From America. Everyone thinks that's the most political song on the record. And because, as I said, it came in the order in which I sang it. I wrote that the week that I voted, which was incredibly enlightening experience. So I don't have a driver's license, as I shouldn't. At no point should I be behind the wheel of a vehicle, unless it's parked and there's someone's head is in my lap. But there was no real. They didn't even ask. Like, I just went up, can I vote? And they're like, what's your credentials? And I'm like, sure. And I mumbled, and all right, over there. I filmed it. And I voted, and I didn't really understand. I just knew that I wanted to vote for the president. I wanted to vote against the, look, I wouldn't advocate marriage because I've had a bad experience. Doesn't mean I won't get married again, but I figured if, you know, gay marriage was a big issue, let them have it so they can suffer the way I did, and they'll figure it out on their own. They won't ever vote for it again. So I wanted to vote for those, and for like no extra pig shit in the farms, or, you know, whatever the props are, you know. I just went in, I voted, I was drunk, that's the way you should vote. And later that day, I went back to the studio, and I could have gone off on a list of We're From America, where this, and this. But I thought the most important things were the first few things I said, where Jesus was born, where they let you come on their faces, where we eat our young, and where we speak American. And it wasn't because I wanted to make a statement on America. It's because at that point in the record, I had gotten through all these songs and I played them for my friends. And they were like, wow, you really fucked up. What's wrong? I'm from America. That's more of the, I guess, impetus for the song than it being political. And of course it is political, but you have to hear it, what's before it, to really appreciate how it fits into the scheme of my mind. And Armageddon motherfucking Geddon, which will be eternally improperly capitalized and hyphenated, which is part of the fun of it, because I made up the word. It's, when you hear it by itself, it sounds purely sarcastic. When you hear it in context of the record, it has a much more sardonic or like serious bitterness to it. So it's just strange. I wouldn't have picked it as the first single. My choice of the first single would have been For Rusted Horses, because I think that represents the record the most. And that's what I'm going to open the tour with. I give that away right now. The album was finished on my birthday, January 5th, which is 1/5, and I was born in 1969. So the 15 is very overwhelming. It's always been since Mechanical Animals, when I started making it present. I'm a different person. At the beginning of the record, I was a person who confused love with dependence, and I guess desire with weakness and things like that. So by the end of the record, I was no longer the same person. And it may be autobiographical, but it's only because I realized I can't create a more fucked up story than my own. And the characters that are in my life, I don't need to imagine or create metaphors for them. But at the same time, I set out to tell a story that everyone can relate to. I don't want to tell a story about my personal relationships. I want to tell a story about being a person that wants to try and be human. I think that's how everyone feels. You know, I'm not trying to be the ultimate outsider. you know, whatever I accomplished with that. I just wanted to see, what do I have to say to anyone I didn't know? So by track 15, if you say to me now, I'll love you until we die, and you change your mind, run. We started the record, and that was coming right off the tour, which is an incredible, I guess, it's a whirlwind of, as much chaos as it is, it has a sense of order to it. I get a piece of paper every day that says, this is what you're gonna do today. When they set me free into the wild, it's like, I'm like a wild animal in that I don't know what to do. It's Pavlovian. Combine that with, you know, a relationship that was created and sort of formed in that circumstance. It's bound for destruction when you reinsert something that is what you're really married to. You know, technically, I'm married to what I do, and that includes Twiggy. And so us getting back together, it's not, you know, I know that gay marriage is illegal in California, so it's not that. Although, you know, of course there's rumors and video proof that there's been what could be considered homosexual behavior, but there were no erections, so I consider it purely for business, not pleasure. That's me making light of what happened in my life. I have to look back at it and realize that it was a really hard time. Yeah, obviously, if you want to know what happened since the last time I've talked to anybody, you listen to the record and you hear it how you want to hear it. You don't hear it like Eat Me, Drink Me. You just hear it by inserting yourself into it. It's a movie. When I watch a movie, I want to be the character. I always want to be the villain. You know, people always say, well, do you have a responsibility of being a role model? Role models are mannequins. I'm a role villain. You have to fuck shit up. You have to be bad. You have to take a lot of abuse. But the villains are always the ones that, in the end, attract the damaged women. And I guess that's what I am, a damage magnet. But at least I'm a damaged person. So that's what Twiggy and I have in common. We're victims. We don't want to be victimized. I make music for people that are victims, you know, and that's not to be said lightly, but I have to make light of it because I don't want to be serious in the era of emo where it becomes just another fashionable card in a store where you look for the section that you want to be in. Emo, rape, murder, suicide, etc. That's why I'm making it. I'm in etc. So that's what I am. Almost in the exact opposite of reality television, which I would never do because, first of all, it's very scripted, and I think that's obvious to everyone. My room became, I don't know, it's a good luck to my manager dealing with the person I leased the house from. But in his ultimate wisdom, he wanted to remove the walls of my bedroom to try and keep them in their integrity. I photographed them in great length, and it appears in the album artwork. But during the period of November to January 5th, when I sang the most of the record, and I still, you know, I vacated my home, last week. I've lived alone for the first time in my life. I mean, that may sound like no big deal. You know, I went from living with my parents, Boca Raton, Florida, starting a band, going on tour, living with Twiggy, watching him, various versions of whatever it is that he does, and then I incorporate myself, you know, the usual, stuffing Bible pages and pissing and, you know, etc. Then I had a series of relationships with women who often appear in front of cameras, and of course this has had an effect on me, whether being a director, wanting to act, writing movies, being a center of my life, and always making records that are very essentially cinematic. So this record, just from the beginning, read like a film because I was living a film. I had, you know, is that my light? I had these very same lights in my bedroom, smoke machines. I forget I have them on. I'll be watching TV and then it'll go the smoke machine, and I laugh because it's comedy, and it's what you would expect. But it's not like, it's not the Haunted Mansion. The house was haunted by me, but it's like Las Vegas mixed with Calcutta and I guess a haunted house. But you know, it's kind of like if you could create one of those murder mystery weekends, but no one finds the body. Because I always tell girls, like, I'm like, you know, I call a girl randomly, because that's how I just scroll through the newspaper. It's like most serial killers, you know, you just flip into, yeah, hey, come over, it's Marilyn Manson, and they never believe it. Like, well, I didn't want to come over because I thought you were just some crazy stalker. Like, well, I am Marilyn, and yes, both, I'm the same. And then they come over, and I have Visqueen plastic, the kind you lay down on the, here, Twiggy's here. Oh, you look like a cocaine dealer.
Yeah, I am.
That's fantastic. So, I have, like, there's a curtain from my bedroom to the bathroom, and this was purely just to hide the fact that I don't like anyone watching me sleep or piss. It's just a phobia I have, and it's also the key to success in relationships. But the plastic is the kind you lay down on the floor when you wrap bodies in, and I say, oh, don't worry, it's fine. You know, I'm not going to kill you and bury you in the backyard. I don't have a shovel, and I don't want to break a sweat, unless it's, you know, the old-fashioned way. So that became, I mean, this is no Match.com, but that became like the way of meeting new people. But I liked living alone, and everyone really had this big preconception that I can't be alone, he can't handle himself alone. So a lot of the record was me going through that trauma, and as much as I'm making it humorous now because I'm sitting next to fucking Don Knotts Johnson. That was pretty good, right? Right. It was rough, and he wasn't there for me. No, he didn't care. He played the guitar, and then he's like, "Fuck off."
It's not true.
Nah. There's you know, when you're going through troubles involving relationships, it often involves depression and humiliation, and you don't want to talk to anyone, especially police, coroners, or family. And if you were to go into my room, and God knows why you would take your clothes off and allow me to fornicate. Like, a girl actually asked me, "Do you have a condom?" And I said, "Do I look like I have a condom?" That should be the least of your worries. I'm way worse than what you could catch from me. I've got a butcher knife stuck in my wall, and a giant chrome spray paint swastika, and like a cocaine bags duct taped in the shape of like Mickey Mouse. You know, it's all fun and games, but you know, I did find romance through it all. There's a happy ending to the story, kids. The moral of the story is, stay with your best friend. Only do drugs and drink when you're in a good mood, not in a bad mood. And find a manager that only keeps you in a cage for a certain amount of times. The Geneva Convention allows that. And grow your eyebrows back. Don't put your penis in anthills, dirt, or girls that remind you of either of the two. And try and make music your salvation. That sounded really dramatic, right?
It was very dramatic.